Good afternoon. Yeah, you know what it's like. How many of you have taken FW221? Let's see a show of hands here. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Right, you gotta do that. Right? So thanks for having me, Madison. Thank you for running this program and the opportunity to be here. It's a little ominous to talk about your last lecture. You know, I was talking to a faculty member today who said, "Are you just going to fall over dead after this?" Or what? So, no, that's not my intention at all. But let me talk to you about somebody and a topic that I care a lot about. You know, as a society, we're awash in advice. We get advice from everybody, everywhere. 10 ways to save money at the grocery store. I like that one. A dozen apps everyone should have on their cell phone. I have one of those, Candy Crush. That's why I have bags under my eyes. 20 things to do before you leave college. None of which are any good for you. So I want you to ignore that list. Old people like me aren't exempt either. 10 mistakes people make when they retire. 5 signs that you're getting senile. Or maybe it was 10, I can't remember. I've got a book at home entitled 1,000 Places to See Before You Die. And this, my wife Sharon tells me, is my job jar for my retirement years. So don't expect to find us hanging around my old office. One of the pieces of advice you often get about is what you should read. For generations, the idea of the best 100 books has been roaming around. You need to read this, and you need to read that in order to be considered an educated person. There are even books today that provide short synopses of the 100 best books, so you can just read one book and seem like you're educated. I think there's probably an app for that today, but we won't go there. But it's not that simple. I'll bet, for example, that if you took Dr. Funkhauser, Dr. Katz, put him in a room and said, what are the 100 books? You did 2 different lists. If you took 10 faculty members from the English department and put them in a room, you'd get 10 different lists and one of the greatest fights of all time. So what's a fellow to do with that? Are you going to read thousands of books so you make sure you cover the 100 best books? Well, here's my advice. Forget all about those lists that include Balzac and Shakespeare and all them other highfalutin Greeks. Do what Thoreau said. Simplify. Simplify. About 30 years ago, there was another book that came out published under the title, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. I don't think it's quite that simple. I don't think you can simplify quite that much, but you don't need much more than that. Perhaps just a few years of elementary school and the advice of one of the greatest philosophers of all time, one Theodore S. Geisel. In other words, everything you need to know, you can learn from Dr. Seuss. And so today, I want to give you 7 easy lessons that we can learn from Dr. Seuss. So first off, his pen name shouldn't be pronounced Seuss. Seuss is his real middle name. It's Germanic. It's from Germany. And it's properly pronounced Zeus, like voice. Now, he obviously got over the fact that the world was mispronouncing his name. There's 7.4 billion of us who are mispronouncing his name on a daily basis. So there's lesson number 1. Get over yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. I mean that, seriously. There's nothing more wonderful than a person who can take herself or himself, can laugh at himself or herself, and there's nothing more boorish than someone who can't. Dr. Seuss always made his living drawing pictures and writing stories. He started out as a cartoonist working for industry. He had a long-time contract with Standard Oil. And his first big hit for them was a series of cartoon ads for the popular 1920s, 1930s insecticide called Flip. And his cartoons always showed people beset in one way or another by an insect in some form, and always carried the line, "Quick, Henry, the Flip!" That became a common idiom in the 1930s and 40s for seeking help in an emergency. Whenever anything was going wrong, he said, "Quick, Henry, the Flip!" But he was getting tired of writing this kind of stuff and this grind, and he was seeking to write some more serious stuff. But he was stuck because he had a contract with Standard Oil that was airtight. He often said that he chose to write and illustrate children's books because that was the only thing he could figure out that wasn't prohibited by his Standard Oil contract. So there's lesson number 2. Always read the fine print. Well, not really always. Have you ever read one of those things that you have to accept before you can do an app? Right? I've never done that either. I think someone should invent an app to do that for us. But said a different way, my point is that if you don't know where you're going, you're liable to end up someplace else. So pay attention to the road, the signs on the road, and to the directions that you might give. So, Dr. Seuss started writing children's books, and the rest, as they say, is history. Well, not quite so fast. His first book is this one, "And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street." Wonderful book, right? Published in 1937. But here's the interesting part about this book. It was rejected by 26 publishers before somebody thought they'd take a chance. Imagine that. 26 times, Seuss slipped his manuscript into a manila envelope, sealed it up, put some stamps on it, took it to the mailbox and dropped it in. That's the way we used to do things. 26 times he did that. An author who has sold 600 million books was rejected 26 times before someone decided it would be a good idea, maybe, to publish his book. So much for good judgment in the editorial suite, huh? So this is lesson number 3. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Somebody else said that too. I'm trying to remember who that was. Oh yeah, it's a guy with a bronze statue right over there in the corner, right? Jim Valvano. He was right about a lot. He was wrong about a lot of things, but he was right about this. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. You know, I have a new book out called Nature's Allies. Incidentally, its autographed copies are for sale at books. So that book is about 8 great conservationists who helped change the world that we live in over the last 100 years. Some are pretty famous, like John Muir and Rachel Carson, but others are less famous, like the Native American fisherman Billy Frank Jr., and the Kenyan woman, Wangari Maathai, who planted 50 million trees in Kenya, and eventually won the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, none of these people ever gave up. They kept on doing it, they kept on working. They all persevered. They didn't change the world in day one, but they all changed the world. And so did Dr. Seuss. He persevered, and he ended up changing the world for all of us. He taught us all to read. And you should persevere too. Maybe you can change the world, a little or a lot. Not everything you want will come right away. But you are a fine person with fine ideas, fine ideals, a fine education, especially if you took FW 221, and fine possibilities. Keep at it, and eventually your dreams will come true. But there's another lesson in the fact that 26 rejections came before Dr. Seuss's first book got published. Think of the regrets that those publishers must have had. Imagine going to your boss and saying, "Oh yeah, this Dr. Seuss guy, we had a chance to be his publisher, but I didn't get it. 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. Where's the plot?" So here's lesson number 4. Take some chances in life, especially if those chances are based on higher ideals. Be open-minded, open to new ideas, people, places, perspectives. People who are different from you in all sorts of ways have things to teach you, things you need to know in order to succeed in today's world and especially in tomorrow's world. So next time someone offers you green eggs and ham, learn the lesson that Sam I Am learned. Try it. Maybe you'll like it. Well, what about the Cat in the Hat? It's a fine book. Wonderful book. And it's one that Dr. Seuss wrote as a challenge. In the mid-1950s, he learned that childhood primers for reading were so dull because they had to use a prescribed vocabulary of just a couple hundred words. And textbook authors didn't think that anything interesting could be written with only a couple hundred words. So on a challenge from his publisher, who said, all right, Seuss, he said, I want you to write a best-selling book for first graders, and you can only use 225 words that I have here on this list. Dr. Seuss said, okay. And he sat there and he read those lists and read them and read them and read them and thought, how am I going to write a book based on any words? And he sat down to read them for the last time, and he said, when I see the first 2 words that rhyme, that's going to be the title of the book. And he saw cat and hat. He wrote the book, The Cat and the Hat. He proved that reading could be fun. And the hat, the cat, you know that book? The Cat and the Hat became the second best-selling book of all time. Now I know you want to know what the first best-selling book of all time was, right? 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. Books about fish rock. Well, he followed The Cat and the Hat up with the book Green Eggs and Ham that I just talked about. And that one used only 54 words. Only 54 words. So here's lesson number 5. Lesson number 5. Things don't have to be hard to be good or important. Students in FW 221 know that, don't they? Life should be a joy, not a struggle. Except perhaps in statistics. Statistics is going to be a struggle. But you'll get through it. If you aren't having fun with what you're doing, someone told me once, you're not doing it right. Now, I know you expect me to talk about this book, The Lorax, right? Of course, I'm an environmental scientist, after all, and The Lorax is Dr. Seuss's environmental book. I should speak for the trees too, just like The Lorax. Well, The Lorax is okay, but it's far from my favorite book. And it's not even my favorite conservation book by Dr. Seuss. We'll get to that one in a minute. It's also misunderstood. People think it's an anti-logging book. It's not. It's not. In fact, Dr. Seuss said so himself. He said, quote, "The Lorax doesn't say lumbering is immoral. I live in a house made of wood, and I write books printed on paper. It's a book about going easy on what we've got. It's anti-pollution and anti-greed." So you see, Dr. Seuss is really a conservationist in the true sense of the way we talk about conservation today, with a vision of sustainability, that we should live today so future generations can live as they wish. You know that definition of sustainability. So that's lesson number 6. It isn't bad to use nature. It's natural to use nature. It's good to use nature. If we didn't use nature, we'd all be dead before our last winter. But take it easy and leave some for Bruce and Wade. You know those are my grandchildren. And leave it also for your grandchildren. Well, if The Lorax isn't my favorite book, what is? Well, there's a bunch of contenders, and one of the contenders is this one, The Sneetches. How many of you think The Sneetches is a fantastic book? Everybody raise your hand. various stories in the Sneetches book, I think, comprise the best overall philosophy book ever written. The title story, The Sneetches, teaches us to respect and like people who are different than we are, no matter how many stars they have on their bellies. The Zacks teaches us that if you're stubborn, refuse to learn and understand others, that's the surest way to become obsolete. Pale green pants with nobody inside them, that teaches us not to fear uncertainty and risk in the world, but to embrace it. Make it your friend. And too many Daves, you know, that's the story of Mrs. McDade, who had 23 sons and named them all Dave. And whenever she wants one and calls them, all 23 come on the run. Well, that was just fun. But without question, my favorite Dr. Seuss book is this one. Scrambled Eggs Super. Now this is a book you might not know, might not be familiar with, because it's not one of his most popular ones, but it certainly is with me. It's about a boy, Peter T. Hooper, who makes the greatest scrambled eggs ever by gathering eggs of the most wonderful and peculiar birds from around the wacky world of Zeusdom. I love the book because my wife Sharon gave it to me in honor of the fact that on special occasions we whip up our own versions of scrambled egg super to celebrate those mornings. But I also love it because it celebrates the diversity of nature. All those magnificent birds laying all those magnificent eggs in all sorts of magnificent ways and places. But you see, it's also a conservation book about biodiversity and about the opportunity it provides us to experience the wonders of nature, whether we eat them or not. So here's lesson 7. Get out there and enjoy the natural world around you. It doesn't matter if you're gawking at the glory of the Grand Canyon or just smiling at the insistent singing of a mockingbird. Be aware of the erratic flight of a swallowtail butterfly or the gentle beauty of a dogwood in bloom, or the gentle rhythm of a stream, like Rocky Branch Creek that I walked next to on campus today at lunchtime. Squeeze a little nature into every day, and nature will squeeze out some of your problems. Now, I could go on for a long time. My usual shtick is 75 minutes. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is end with a poem, the same way Dr. Seuss would. And so here is my homage to Dr. Seuss and a poem for you. To you cats and your hats. We wear lots of hats from day one to day last. There are hats in your future and hats in your past. Red hats and green hats and purple hats too. But never, no, never a hat that's light blue. We start with a bonnet knitted by Grandma and go on to chapeaus that we wear just for glamour. A beret as a Girl Scout, a white-brimmed beanie for baseball, and when you played cowboy, a Stetson that stood at least 10 gallons tall. A fez or a turban may fit on your head, a veil of white lace for the day that you wed. A Smokey Bear hat when you become a state trooper, or a bizarre fascinator that just makes you look super. A crown isn't likely, but perhaps a sombrero. Try on a thinking cap, and oh, the places that you'll go. Some hats will be hard, like the deep sea exploring. Some will cover your ears when the boss you're ignoring. A skull cap will warm you when you're flying aloft. Some, like your dirty baseball caps, you never take off. And soon you'll all be wearing red hats that are square, with tassels of white that get tangled in your hair, that prove in your head there's more there than air. Over your life you will wear lots of hats you will wear. Keep trying on new ones. You must persevere. You will find the right hat that brings joy to you. Maybe purple or green, Yes, perhaps even blue. It'll fit on your head, and your heart, and your soul too. So now I'll retire my professorial cap, because it's getting late, and I need a nap. So, as you now go and do what you'll do, one thing I want you to never forget. To your own hat, be true. Thank you very much.